How you doing, everybody? And welcome to NinjaToons, where the martial arts meets the creative arts. I'm Michael Voog, the Art Ninja, coming to you from my studio in the Simi Valley Town Center. As the Art Ninja, my mission is to educate, motivate, and appreciate you, the parents, students, and followers that make up our creative community. My passion is to inspire your artistic improvement, and another way that we do that is by offering Walk-Thru Wednesday. So today we're going to be drawing Goku from Dragonball Z. With these walkthrough classes, I really tried to give myself an artistic challenge and something fun for these characters. So Goku starts with the letter G, and that's what we're going to start with on drawing Goku. Now remember, when you're drawing on your paper, sketch lightly and loosely, and we're going to draw an elongated letter G. It's a capital G. Sketch it out lightly and see how the bottom of the G here is kind of angled out. Now this is going to be the main shape for Goku's pose. The next step is we're going to draw Goku's head. So on the inside of the top of the G, we're going to draw the sides of his head and his chin, making this home plate shape. Don't forget to draw your center line and the eye line. We're going to have Goku looking down. And then you can draw on his ears on each side of his head. What you do to one side, you want to draw to the other. And now we have Goku's head shape. Next, we're going to draw his shoulders. His shoulders connect to the back of his head. And we're going to draw on his body. So his body is going to connect his chest, touching the center part of the G. And right about there is where we're going to make Goku's fist. Notice how I'm making this circle. We want to use simple shapes when we're drawing our character. So now you're going to use a C curve to connect under his fist. And this C curve is going to create a rhythm from Goku's forearm to the lower part of his leg. That would be the hamstring. We're going to draw his calf and the bottom of his foot. Now remember, when we're drawing this, you may have noticed that there's only 3 types of lines I'm using to draw Goku. Our straight line, our C curve, and later on I'll show you an S curve woven in to this design. Now we're going to draw Goku's shoulder using a C curve and his forearm. Now what I'm doing here is indicating that his arms are like cylinders. Remember, a rectangle shape turns into a cylinder when we make it look more 3D. So a square converts to a cube, a circle converts to a sphere, a triangle, a cone, and a rectangle into a cylinder. Now on top of Goku's back knee, we're going to use that square, and that's going to go into his fist. Now just looking at what we've created so far, you can already see the type of pose and stance that Goku is in. The next step is going to draw Goku's nose. Remember, for these characters, it's usually just a simple dot. And we're going to draw Goku's eyes. We're going to use C curves for the top of his eyes. And then more C curves that drop down to his eye line. We can use little dots for his pupils. And we're going to give him a wide open mouth as he's screaming. You'll see that I'm darkening his eye line, the top eye line there, just to give it a little more weight. And then we're going to draw on Goku's bangs. So his bangs are just a combination of straight lines as we go across his forehead, sketching lightly and loosely across the paper. So that's step 4. We have Goku's face in now, his bangs. Now we're going to go into drawing the top of his hair. Drawing the top of his hair is a combination of C-curves more than straight lines. Sometimes I like to think of them as letters, combining the letters M or N, whatever makes sense for your character. But I'm combining C-curves at different lengths and also at different distances. C-curve. Sometimes it's easier to think of these as maybe shark fins as we go all the way across the top of his head. Inside of Goku's mouth, we want to include his teeth, and his tongue. So this is coming along nicely. Now remember to not get frustrated. Drawing takes practice. It takes lots of practice. You're not going to get great doing one drawing. And that's what these Walk-Thru Wednesdays and drawing tutorials are meant to do. Help you through practice. So let's keep going. The next step on Goku is going to draw his center line, draw it across his chest as we work our way down the character. Now you'll notice we have not put in his lower leg yet. So we're going to draw that in right now using a C-curve. And this is all fitting within that initial G shape that we first made. We drew the letter G and his character is all fitting right inside of it. Now we're going to add some fabric right above his boot and some wrinkle lines. This is where the fabric on his pants are stretching. You'll see this line that I'm putting on Goku's thigh, and this is simply a center line to let the viewer know that this is right over the center of his thigh. In some pants, it would be considered a seam. Now in step number 6, we're adding Goku's tail. So use an S-curve now, right around his lower leg, where his shin would be, and use an S-curve to sweep around his tail like this. Sometimes it helps to put an oval at the end of the tail. Just like that. So this is one example of where we would use an S-curve. Step number 7 is to now add more detail. We're going to add muscle tone. We're going to add more wrinkles, seams on his costume. And you can see that as I draw the collar on Goku's gi. Notice how the center of this V connects to his center line. There's a purpose why we put center lines on our drawings. It allows us to create symmetry in our form. Now I'm going to add the deltoid muscle to Goku's arm, and that works its way into the bicep. Then we have his forearm. We're going to put on his wristbands. And then we're going to add his fist. Now you just saw me draw the fist. This takes practice and practice and practice. Eventually you're going to develop your own shorthand on how to draw different fists from the front, the side, the top, but it does take practice. We're going to draw his wristbands on the other arm, and again drawing the fist on this side. One of the best models for drawing fists is yourself. So take out your fist, draw it. Draw it from different angles. All right. Now we're going to put some wrinkles on Goku's boot. This wrinkle is placed right around where the ankle would be, where the plane of his leg changes from his shin to his foot. So this is our basic sketch. Looking at your drawing, you may find areas that you want to adjust. Now is the time to do it. You want to make all your mistakes right now during the sketch phase. So if there's not something you're happy with, go back, fix it, re-sketch it in the proper place. One of the things that I noticed is that I wanted to increase Goku's hair size in my drawing. So watch what I do here. I'm not going to erase. I'm simply going to change where I place his hair. And I'm going to do that until I feel like I've gotten it right. Now that we've finished our sketch, the next step is cleanup. So before we move into the cleanup step or inking, I wanted to remind you of the 5 steps to creating artwork. The first step you heard about in our Tuesday 2-minute tip, and that's stretching. So step number 1 is stretching. Remember those superhero stretches. Step number 2 is we're going to think before we draw. So we're drawing Goku today. So get that image of Goku in your head. That would be step number 2. Then we're going to go to sketching Goku. So following this Walk-Thru Wednesday tutorial, we're sketching out Goku, pressing lightly and loosely on the paper. And now step number 4 is inking. So let's get out our number 2 pencil or marker, and we're going to start inking Goku. I always like to start with the eyes. You really want to take your time with cleanup. You've put so much work into your sketch that you don't want to rush this and get sloppy. So really stay focused on your cleanup lines. Part of the fun of cleanup is knowing that you've already created the lines that you want to trace, and that's really what you're doing, is you're just tracing your sketch. You also want to focus on line quality. And what I mean by that is when you're inking, try to make these lines as smooth as possible. Remember, when you're inking, there are no erasers. So you really want to make sure you pay attention if you're using markers. I think for me, I really enjoy the cleanup stage or the inking stage is because this is when I can add all the details. I know that my larger shapes are correct. And so I just like to have fun putting in different seams, like you'll notice here on Goku's costume, or on his gi. Put in the seam lines. It also helps to understand and practice anatomy. So stay tuned for next Tuesday's 2-minute tip, where I talk about a fun way to practice drawing anatomy. The biggest takeaway from inking is that you really want to practice the quality of the lines you're laying down, and that's why it's so important to get all the mistakes out of the way during your sketch phase, because that way all you have to do is trace. So that's our Wednesday walkthrough lesson of how to draw Goku. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and remember, you still have one more step to finish, and that's color. Now, some of you may be wondering, how do we choose the characters for the Wednesday walkthrough lessons or for the speed draws? And that's kind of simple. You guys decide. In class, here at NinjaToons and the Simi Valley Town Center, the students choose which characters they want to draw. And what I do is I create a step-by-step lesson for their individual characters. But I want you to have a voice. So, in the comments in our YouTube channel, put in what you'd like to see next. What character would you like me to create a step-by-step for? And if I choose your character, I have some special giveaways that I'll be giving out, as well as a mention on our YouTube channel. So, get to thinking, what character would you like the Art Ninja to draw next? And we'll see you next time on Walk-Thru Wednesday.